Jake Morrison crouched behind the twisted metal remains of what used to be a city bus. The blue-skinned aliens had destroyed Chicago 20 years ago, but humans still lived in the ruins. They hid in tunnels and basements, fighting a war they could not win. Jake led a small group of fighters who called themselves the Resistance. They had been losing for so long that some days Jake wondered if they should just give up. The morning sun cast long shadows across the broken streets. Jake checked his watch and saw that his scout team should be back soon. Lisa Chang crawled up beside him, her engineer uniform torn and dirty. She had been working on their radio all night trying to fix the static that made talking to other groups so hard. "Any word from Tony's team?" Jake asked in a whisper. Lisa shook her head and pointed toward the north side of the city. Smoke was rising from that direction, which meant the aliens were probably burning more human homes. It made Jake angry, but anger would not help them win this fight. Dr. Helen Brooks joined them at their hiding spot. She used to work for NASA, before the invasion, studying space and stars. Now she helped the Resistance by figuring out how alien weapons worked. Sometimes they could steal alien guns from dead soldiers, but the weapons usually broke after a few uses. Human hands were not made to hold alien tools. "Jake, we need to talk about the food situation," Dr. Brooks said quietly. "We have maybe 2 weeks left and winter is coming soon." Jake knew she was right. Finding food in the ruins was getting harder every month. The aliens had poisoned most of the rivers, and growing crops was almost impossible with their patrol ships flying overhead. Every day, a whistle echoed from the east. It was Tony Rodriguez returning with his scout team. Jake felt relief wash over him. Tony was their best fighter and explosives expert. If anyone could survive a scouting mission in alien territory, it was him. Tony ran across the open street and slid behind their cover. His face showed excitement, which was unusual. Most scouting reports were bad news about more alien troops or destroyed human settlements. "Boss, you need to see what we found," Tony said, breathing hard from his run. "About 10 miles north of here, there's something big. Really big." He pulled out a pair of old binoculars and handed them to Jake. "It's in that crater near the old highway, the one we always avoid because of the radiation." Jake took the binoculars and looked confused. "What kind of big?" he asked. Tony smiled for the first time in months. "The alien kind of big," Tony replied. "It's one of their ships, Jake, a huge one. But here's the weird part. It looks abandoned. No lights, no movement, no patrol ships guarding it. The thing has been sitting there for who knows how long." Lisa Chang grabbed Tony's arm. "Are you sure it's abandoned?" she asked. "This could be a trap. The aliens are smart enough to use their own ships as bait." Tony nodded but kept smiling. "We watched it for 6 hours," he said. "No activity at all. The ship is crashed in the crater like it fell from the sky during the invasion. But get this, it's not completely destroyed. The hull looks damaged but not broken apart like the other wrecks we've seen." Dr. Brooks leaned forward with interest. She had studied the alien ships that had crashed during the first days of the war. Most of them were burned-out shells with nothing useful inside. But an intact ship would be different. It might have technology that humans could use. "How big are we talking?" Dr. Brooks asked. Tony spread his arms wide and then wider. "Remember the football stadium downtown?" Tony said. "This thing is maybe 3 times that size. It's sitting in a crater that goes down about 50 feet. The front end is buried, but the back half is sticking up above ground level." Jake felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. If Tony was right about the ship being abandoned, it could change everything. Even broken alien technology was more advanced than anything humans had built. A working alien ship would be like finding a treasure chest full of gold. "We need to get closer," Jake decided. "But we do this carefully. Lisa, how long would you need to check if that ship has working parts?" Lisa thought for a moment. "If I could get inside," she said, "maybe a few hours to look around. But Jake, if that ship has power, it might have defenses too. Alien computers might still be running security programs." Dr. Brooks had been quiet while she thought about the possibilities. "There's something else to consider," she said finally. If this ship has been sitting there since the invasion, why haven't the aliens found it yet? They've had 20 years. To clean up their wrecks, Tony had an answer for that. The crater is in a radiation zone, he explained. Remember when they bombed the power plant during the first week? The whole area has been hot ever since. Maybe the aliens avoid it just like we do. Jake made his decision. We go tonight, he said. Small team, in and out fast. If the ship looks dangerous, we leave immediately. If it looks promising, we figure out what to do next. He looked at each member of his team. This could be the break we've been waiting for, or it could get us all killed. Anyone who wants to stay behind can do so with no hard feelings. Nobody moved to leave. These people had been fighting impossible odds for so long that a dangerous chance seemed better than slow defeat. Lisa packed her tools for checking electronic systems. Dr. Brooks gathered her equipment for studying alien technology. Tony loaded his weapons and prepared for trouble. As the sun set over the ruined city, Jake Morrison led his team toward what might be humanity's last hope or their final mistake. Behind them, other resistance fighters wished them luck and prepared to continue the fight if this team never came back. The alien ship waited in its crater like a sleeping giant. In a few hours, Jake and his people would learn if they had found salvation or doom. Either way, they were tired of hiding in the ruins while their world died around them. Tonight, they would take the biggest risk of their lives. The alien ship was even bigger than Tony had described. Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the crater and stared up at the massive hull that rose above them like a metal mountain. The ship had crashed nose first into the ground, leaving the rear section exposed to the night sky. Strange symbols covered the hull and dark windows looked down at them like dead eyes. Jesus, Lisa Chang whispered beside him. How do we even get inside that thing? The ship's surface was smooth and black with no obvious doors or hatches. Dr. Helen Brooks walked around the crater's edge, studying the wreck with her scientific eye. Look there. Dr. Brooks pointed to a section where the hull had cracked open near the ground. That breach might be big enough for us to squeeze through. The opening was maybe 3 feet wide and jagged with torn metal. It looked dangerous, but it was their only way in. Tony Rodriguez checked his radiation detector. We're getting some readings, he reported, but nothing that will kill us in a few hours. The ship itself seems to be blocking most of the background radiation. That was good news. They could work inside the ship without worrying about getting sick immediately. Jake led the team down into the crater. Their flashlights cut through the darkness as they approached the hull breach. Up close, the alien metal looked different from anything humans had ever built. It seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and Jake could feel a slight vibration through his boots when he touched the hull. There's still power in this thing, Lisa said with excitement in her voice. I can feel the electrical fields. Some systems are definitely still running after all these years. That changed everything. A powered alien ship was far more valuable than dead wreckage. They squeezed through the hull breach one by one. Inside, the ship was pitch black except for a few small lights that blinked slowly on distant control panels. The air smelled strange, like metal and chemicals, but it was breathable. Their footsteps echoed in the huge corridors as they explored. The ship's interior was clearly designed for beings larger than humans. Doorways were 8 feet tall, and control panels were positioned too high for easy human reach. But the basic layout made sense. Corridors led to different sections, and signs in alien writing pointed toward various parts of the ship. This is incredible, Dr. Brooks said as she examined a wall panel. The technology here is at least 50 years ahead of anything we had before the invasion. Maybe more. She ran her hands over smooth surfaces that seemed to respond to her touch with faint glowing lines. They spent hours exploring the ship's interior. Jake's team found what looked like a command center with dozens of control stations arranged around a central chair. Lisa discovered engineering sections filled with machinery that hummed with contained power. Tony found weapon storage areas, with alien guns still in their racks. But the most important discovery came when Dr. Brooks found the ship's main computer core. The room was filled with floating crystals that pulsed with blue light. Information flowed between them in patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. I think this is how they store data, Dr. Brooks explained to the others. These crystals hold more information than every computer on Earth combined. If we could access even a small part of what's stored here, we could learn things about alien technology that would take us decades to figure out on our own. Lisa was working at what appeared to be an engineering station. "Jake, you need to see this," she called out. The others gathered around as she pointed to a display screen that showed a schematic of the ship. "I think I've figured out what this thing is. It's not just any alien ship. It's a warship. A big one." The schematic showed weapon systems throughout the hull. There were energy cannons, missile launchers, and something labeled in alien symbols that made Dr. Brooks's eyes widen when she translated it. "Plasma cannon," she said quietly. "This is the main gun that can destroy entire city blocks with one shot. The same type of weapon they used to level our cities during the invasion." The team stood in silence as they realized what they had found. Jake felt his heart beating faster. "Could we make it work?" he asked Lisa. She studied the engineering displays for several minutes before answering. "Maybe," she said finally. "The power systems are still functional. The engines show green status lights, which I think means they're operational. But Jake, we're talking about alien technology that's completely different from anything human. It could take months or years to figure out how to control this ship." Tony had been quiet while he explored the weapon systems. "There's enough firepower on this ship to take out half the alien fleet," he said. "If we could get this thing flying, we could hit back for the first time since the invasion started." Dr. Brooks was already thinking about the bigger picture. "We need to contact the other resistance groups," she said. "This discovery is too important for just our cell. Every human fighter needs to know about this ship." Jake knew she was right, but he also knew the risks. "If we tell other groups, word might get back to the aliens," he said. "They've had spies in the resistance before. But if we don't tell anyone and something happens to us, this ship stays buried forever." The team spent the rest of the night cataloging what they had found. The ship was damaged but repairable. Its weapons were intact. Its engines could still function. Most importantly, its computer systems held the secrets of alien technology that could level the playing field between humans and their occupiers. As dawn approached, Jake made the hardest decision of his life. "We're going to risk it," he announced to his team. "We contact every resistance leader we can reach. We tell them what we've found, and we ask them to help us turn this alien ship into humanity's weapon of revenge." Lisa looked worried. "Jake, if the aliens find out what we're planning, they'll destroy this ship and everyone around it. We could be signing death warrants for thousands of resistance fighters." Jake nodded grimly. "And if we don't try, we stay slaves forever. Our children grow up in a world where humans serve alien masters. I'd rather die fighting than live on my knees." Dr. Brooks put her hand on Jake's shoulder. "Then we better figure out how to fly this thing before the aliens figure out what we're up to. We're going to need all the help we can get." As the team prepared to leave the ship and contact other resistance groups, none of them realized that they had already triggered something inside the alien computer systems. Deep in the crystal cores, ancient programs were awakening after 20 years of dormancy, and the ship called Void Reaper was beginning to remember its purpose. 9 months had passed since Jake Morrison first entered the alien ship. The crater that once held a dead wreck now buzzed with human activity. Resistance fighters from around the world had come to help restore the massive warship they now called Void Reaper. Underground tunnels connected the ship to hidden workshops where human engineers worked day and night to understand alien technology. Lisa Chang had changed the most during those months. Her hair had turned partly gray from stress, but her eyes burned with excitement every day. She had learned to read alien computer displays and could operate systems that had seemed impossible to understand. The ship's engineering section had become her second home. "Power levels are holding steady," Lisa reported to Jake as he walked through the ship's command center. The bridge looked different now, with human modifications everywhere. New control stations had been built to fit human hands, and Earth computers had been wired into alien systems. "We're ready for the first engine test." Dr. Helen Brooks looked up from her workstation, where alien symbols scrolled across multiple screens. "The computer cores are responding better each day," she said. I think the ship's artificial intelligence is learning to work with us. It's starting to translate its displays into English without being asked. Jake nodded as he settled into the captain's chair that had been adjusted for human size. Through the bridge windows, he could see resistance fighters working on the hull. Repairs. They had welded human metal over the worst damage and rerouted systems around sections that could not be fixed. The ship would never look the same as when its alien crew had flown it, but it would fly again. Tony Rodriguez entered the bridge carrying a report from the weapons teams. All gun systems show ready status, he announced with satisfaction. We've figured out how to aim and fire the main plasma cannon. The smaller guns are fully operational too. This ship has enough firepower to take on a small fleet. But Jake knew their time was running out. Alien patrol ships had been flying closer to the crater each week. The radiation that had hidden the ship for 20 years was fading as the old power plant finally cooled down. Soon the aliens would detect the activity in this area and investigate. How long until we can launch? Jake asked Lisa. She checked her displays before answering. The engines are ready now, she said. All major systems are functional. But Jake, we've never actually flown this thing. We could start it up and have it explode on us, or the aliens could detect our launch and shoot us down before we clear the atmosphere. Dr. Brooks had been studying the ship's original mission logs that she had finally managed to decode. There's something you all need to know about this ship, she said seriously. The alien crew that used to fly it were rebels. They refused orders to bomb human cities during the invasion. Their own fleet shot them down for disobeying. Tony looked surprised. You mean some of the aliens didn't want to attack Earth? He asked. Dr. Brooks nodded. The captain of this ship tried to warn Earth about the invasion, she explained. His crew died as traitors to their empire. In a way, we're carrying on their mission by using their ship against the occupation forces. Jake felt the weight of that responsibility. Human and alien rebels working together across 20 years to fight the same enemy. It seemed right that the Void Reaper should fly again with a human crew, seeking the same justice its alien crew had died for. We launch tonight, Jake decided. The longer we wait, the more likely the aliens are to find us. Lisa, start the final preparations. Tony, get all weapons loaded and ready. Helen, make sure our computer systems can handle the stress of launch. Word spread quickly through the Resistance network. Tonight would mark the first time since the invasion that humans would fly a starship. Every fighter in the crater knew. This might be their last day alive, but none of them suggested waiting longer. As darkness fell, Jake took his place in the captain's chair. Lisa ran final checks from the engineering station. Tony manned the weapons controls while Dr. Brooks monitored the ship's computer systems. Around them, a crew of 30 humans operated stations they had learned to use through months of dangerous experimentation. All systems show green, Lisa reported. Engines are warming up. We're ready for launch sequence. Jake looked around the bridge at people who had followed him from the ruins of Chicago to this moment of truth. Take us up, Jake ordered. Lisa's hands moved over controls she had memorized during countless practice sessions. Deep in the ship's hull, alien engines that had been silent for 20 years roared back to life. The Void Reaper rose from its crater, like a ghost returning from the dead. Human cheers echoed through the corridors as the ship climbed toward the stars. For the first time in 2 decades, humans were flying in space aboard their own warship. But their celebration was short-lived. Tony's sensors immediately detected an alien patrol cruiser approaching fast from the east. The enemy ship was smaller than the Void Reaper, but still dangerous enough to destroy them if they were not ready to fight. Alien ship closing on our position, Tony announced. They're powering up weapons. I don't think they recognize us as one of their own ships. Jake felt his stomach tighten. This was the moment of truth. Target their engines, Jake ordered. Let's see if our guns work as well as Lisa thinks they do. Tony's fingers danced over. The weapon controls as targeting displays lit up around the bridge. The alien patrol cruiser never had a chance. The Void Reaper's main plasma cannon fired once, and the enemy ship simply vanished in a ball of superheated gas. Where moments before there had been an alien warship, now only empty space remained. Direct hit, Tony reported with amazement in his voice. The target is completely destroyed. Jake, this weapon is more powerful than we thought. We just vaporized that ship like it was made of paper. Lisa was monitoring communications from Earth. The other resistance groups saw our launch, she said excitedly. They're cheering us on every radio frequency. But Jake, I'm also picking up alien fleet movements. They know something is wrong. Jake knew they had perhaps minutes before alien reinforcements arrived. He had planned for this moment during the long months of preparation. Set course for Mars, he ordered. It's time to cut the head off the snake. Dr. Brooks looked at him in surprise. Mars, she asked. Jake, that's where the alien command station is located. They have dozens of warships protecting it. Jake smiled grimly as the Void Reaper turned toward the red planet. That's exactly why we're going there. We have one shot at this, and we're going to make it count. Today we stop running and start fighting back. As the ship accelerated toward its destination, every human aboard knew they were flying toward what would likely be their deaths. But they also knew that for the first time, since the invasion, humanity was striking back with real power. The Void Reaper dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Mars orbit, and Jake Morrison immediately knew they were in trouble. The alien fleet waiting for them was 3 times larger than their intelligence reports had suggested. Dozens of warships surrounded a massive battle station that looked like a metal city floating in space. My God, Dr. Helen Brooks whispered from her station. That command station is huge. It's got to be 20 miles across. Through the bridge, windows, they could see the alien base bristling with weapon turrets and fighter launch bays. Smaller ships swarmed around it like angry insects. Lisa Chang was frantically working at her engineering controls. They're scanning us, she reported. I don't think our disguise is going to work. The ship's computer systems are trying to respond to their identification requests, but our modifications are confusing the automatic replies. Tony Rodriguez had already powered up all weapon systems. Jake, we've got maybe 30 seconds before they figure out we're not one of theirs. After that, every gun in the system is going to be shooting at us. His hands hovered over the firing. Controls as targeting data flowed across his displays. Jake made the decision that would define the next few minutes. All weapons, fire at will. Hit everything that moves. Lisa, give me maximum power to engines and shields. The Void Reaper's main plasma cannon charged up and fired its first shot at the alien battle station. The massive beam of energy struck the station's shields and created a brilliant explosion that lit up the space around Mars. Alarm signals immediately started blaring from alien ships throughout the system as they realized they were under attack by one of their own vessels. Direct hit on the command station, Tony reported with excitement. Their shields absorbed most of it, but we definitely got their attention. Around them, alien warships were turning to face the Void Reaper and powering up their own weapons. What followed was the most desperate space battle in human history. The Void Reaper fought alone against impossible odds, dodging between enemy ships while its guns blazed continuously. Lisa performed miracles in the engineering section, rerouting power from damaged systems and keeping the ship flying when it should have been destroyed. Hull breach on Deck 7 came a report from the damage control teams. We're losing atmosphere in the port weapons bay. Jake could feel the ship shaking under enemy fire, but they kept fighting. Every alien ship they destroyed was one less weapon pointed at Earth. Dr. Brooks was monitoring the battle station's communications. Jake, I'm picking up panic in their command signals, she said. They're not used to fighting one of their own ships. Our tactics are confusing their commanders. That gave Jake an idea. Tony, concentrate all fire on the battle station's communication arrays, Jake ordered. If we can cut their ability to coordinate the fleet, maybe we can turn this fight around. The Void Reaper's weapons shifted targets and began systematically destroying the massive antenna arrays that crowned the alien command center. The strategy worked better than Jake had hoped, as the battle station lost its ability to communicate with the fleet. Individual alien ships began making their own decisions instead of following coordinated orders. Some continued attacking the Void Reaper while others tried to protect the battle station, and a few even started shooting at each other in the confusion. But the Void Reaper was taking tremendous damage. We're down to 40% power, Lisa reported through the ship's internal communication system. I can't keep the shields up much longer. We need to end this fight soon or we're all dead. Jake had been saving their most dangerous option for exactly this moment. During the months of preparation, Tony had discovered that the ship carried a small teleporter system that could transport people directly onto enemy vessels. It was risky, because they had never tested it in combat, but it might be their only chance to win. "Tony, take a team to the teleporter bay," Jake ordered. "I want you to beam directly onto that command station and find their reactor core. If you can plant explosives inside their main power source, we can destroy the whole station from within." Tony looked at Jake with understanding. "That's a suicide mission, boss," he said calmly. "Even if we succeed in blowing up their reactor, we'll never make it back to the ship alive." Jake nodded grimly. "I know," Jake replied. "But if we don't stop that command station, every human on Earth dies. At least this way we take their leadership with us." Tony gathered his weapons and headed for the teleporter bay without another word. Meanwhile, the space battle continued to rage around them. The Void Reaper was now fighting more than 20 enemy ships at once, and its weapons were overheating from constant use. "I'm reading critical failures in the main gun system," Dr. Brooks announced. "We might lose our primary weapon any minute." Lisa's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "Jake, I'm detecting some kind of chain reaction building up in their battle station. I think Tony's team made it to the reactor core." Through the bridge windows, they could see flashes of explosion inside the massive alien structure. "All ships get clear of the command station," Jake broadcast on all frequencies, hoping some of the alien crews would understand English. He did not want to kill aliens who were just following orders, even if they were his enemies. Some of the smaller ships began moving away from the battle station, but others continued their attack on the Void Reaper. The alien command station began breaking apart from the inside as Tony's explosives did their work. Huge sections of the structure blew outward in silent fireballs that lit up the space around Mars like a new sun. The aliens had lost their main base in this solar system, and with it, their ability to coordinate the occupation of Earth. "Tony's team did it," Dr. Brooks said with tears in her eyes. "The command station is destroyed." But Jake knew the price they had paid. Tony Rodriguez and his team had given their lives to strike this blow against humanity's oppressors. With their command center gone, the remaining alien ships fell into chaos. Some tried to retreat toward the outer planets while others continued fighting without coordination. Jake seized the moment to broadcast a message on all alien communication frequencies. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Void Reaper," he announced, using the ship's translation systems to speak in the alien language. "Your command station is destroyed. Your fleet is scattered. Leave Earth's solar system now, or join your commanders in death. Humanity is no longer your slave." The message had exactly the effect Jake had hoped for. Several alien ships immediately began charging their faster-than-light drives to escape the system. Others hesitated, unsure whether to fight or flee without orders from their destroyed command base. Dr. Brooks was monitoring communications from Earth. "Jake, resistance groups across the planet are reporting that alien ground forces are in retreat. Without coordination from the command station, their occupation troops don't know what to do." Lisa managed to get the main engines working again despite massive damage to the ship. "We can make it back to Earth," she reported. "But this ship will never fight another battle. We've pushed these systems beyond their limits." As the Void Reaper limped toward home, Jake looked back at the destruction around Mars and thought about Tony Rodriguez and his brave team. They had proven that humans could fight back against impossible odds and win. The war was not over, but for the first time in 20 years, humanity had hope for victory. 5 years after the Battle of Mars, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship as it approached the alien homeworld. The ship was called Earth's Revenge, and it led a fleet of 50 human warships built using technology stolen from the Void Reaper. Behind her, the children of Earth were finally bringing justice to the galaxy. The war had changed everything. After Jake Morrison destroyed the alien command station, Earth's resistance movements had captured enough alien equipment to reverse engineer their technology. Human shipyards now produced vessels that were faster and more powerful than the ships that had once enslaved them. The species that had been conquered 25 years ago was now the dominant military force in this part of the galaxy. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," reported Commander Lisa Chang from the communication station. Lisa had survived the Battle of Mars and become one of humanity's top military engineers. Her hair was now completely gray, but her mind was as sharp as ever. Kate nodded for Lisa to put the message on the main screen. The face that appeared was blue-skinned and familiar. It was Admiral Thexavar, the alien commander who had led the occupation of Earth for 2 decades. He looked older now and afraid. "Human fleet," the alien admiral said in heavily accented English. "I am authorized to discuss terms for the surrender of this world. We are prepared to offer reparations for the damage done to your planet in exchange for mercy for our civilian population." Kate smiled coldly. She remembered hiding in the ruins of London as a child while alien ships burned her neighborhood. She remembered the mass graves and the slave camps and the 25 years of suffering her people had endured. "Admiral Thexavar." Kate replied, "There will be no negotiations. You invaded our world without provocation. You enslaved our people. You destroyed our cities and killed billions of innocent humans. Today you answer for those crimes." Dr. Helen Brooks, now serving as Kate's science advisor, was monitoring the planet's defenses. "Their orbital weapons are powering down," she reported. "It looks like they're not going to fight." That was probably smart of them. The human fleet carried enough firepower to crack the planet's crust if necessary. The alien homeworld was a beautiful place with blue oceans and green continents that reminded Kate of Earth before the invasion. Cities covered the land masses in geometric patterns that showed thousands of years of civilization. It seemed wrong to destroy something so lovely, but Kate remembered what Earth had looked like after the aliens were finished with it. "All ships, take orbital positions," Kate commanded. "Prepare to begin bombardment of military targets. We'll start with their spaceports and weapons factories." The human fleet spread out around the planet like a net of death, their guns trained on the world below. But Kate had learned something important during the 5 years since the Battle of Mars. Pure revenge was not enough. Destroying the alien homeworld would make humans no better than the invaders who had attacked Earth. Justice required something more precise. "Open a channel to all human ships," Kate ordered. When the fleet communication system was active, she spoke to every captain in the Armada. "Today we have the power to destroy the world that sent death to Earth. But we are not here to commit genocide. We are here to ensure that no species ever again suffers what humanity suffered." The plan Kate had developed was more complex than simple destruction. Human ground forces would occupy the planet and establish military bases. The alien government would be dissolved and replaced with a human administration. Most importantly, the aliens would spend the next century rebuilding every world they had damaged during their empire's expansion. "Admiral, we're getting reports from across the galaxy," Lisa announced from her station. "Human fleets have reached 12 other alien colonies. All of them are surrendering without resistance. Word of our victory here is spreading faster than our ships can travel." Kate nodded with satisfaction. The alien empire that had seemed so powerful 25 years ago was crumbling everywhere human ships appeared. Fear of Earth's revenge was destroying their will to fight more effectively than any weapon. Dr. Brooks had been analyzing the cultural databases they had captured from alien ships. "Kate, you need to see this," she said, displaying information on the main screen. "The aliens have historical records going back thousands of years. They've conquered and enslaved dozens of species across the galaxy. Humanity isn't their first victim. We're just the first to fight back successfully." That information changed Kate's perspective on their mission. This was not just about revenge for Earth. It was about liberating an entire galaxy from an empire built on conquest and slavery. The human fleet was not just carrying Earth's vengeance. They were bringing freedom to species that had suffered for millennia. "New plan," Kate announced to her fleet. "We're not just occupying this world. We're using it as a base to liberate every species the aliens have enslaved. This empire dies today, and every world they've conquered gets the chance to govern itself again." The next few hours saw the most one-sided surrender in galactic history. Alien military forces laid down their weapons without firing a shot. Their government officials begged for mercy while human marines secured strategic locations across the planet. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years submitted to occupation by the humans they had tried to destroy. Jake Morrison would have been proud to see this moment. The resistance fighter who had found an abandoned alien ship in a radioactive crater had started something that would reshape the entire galaxy. His sacrifice at Mars had given humanity the chance to become more than just another conquered species. As Kate watched human shuttles landing on the alien homeworld surface, she thought about the long journey from Earth's darkest hour to this moment of ultimate victory. The war was over, but the work of building a better galaxy was just beginning. Admiral Lisa said from her station, "We're receiving surrender offers from alien colonies as far away as the Andromeda border. It looks like their entire civilization is collapsing now that word has spread about our victory here." Kate smiled as she watched the alien flag being lowered from government buildings on the planet below. In its place, human soldiers were raising the banner of Earth, not as conquerors but as liberators of a galaxy that had waited too long for freedom. The age of the alien empire was over. The age of human justice had begun. And somewhere in space, the wreckage of the Void Reaper drifted as a monument to the moment when humanity refused to remain slaves and chose to become the galaxy's protectors instead.